This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Is Ira Winderman ready to rock and roll? Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
I am good. I was watching as Campagna scored his 3 goals last week, and I had the same thought as you. There is someone willing to put in the work. There is someone relentless. And, you saw the 3rd goal. It was sort of a cheap goal. It got stuck there, and he was digging and digging and digging in the corner for that ball to roll across. He never gave up. He never said, this is too much work. He said, this is what needs to be done. And that is the problem with MLS. The thought of they're going to bring in aging stars who then come over, look at it as a vacation. And you know what? If you remember, because I remember you do this, the old days of the North American Soccer League, it got to that point also. Yes, I love my Cosmos, and they brought over Pele, and they brought over Canalia. But at the end, it was just a retirement tour. And instead of featuring the best and the brightest of your level, you're not going to take people out of the Premier League, but still rising stars, young, energetic players. That's what you want. You've spoken about it with the Heat. You were sick of the gray beers. You wanted to see some young energy like the Heat infused this year. Same thing, I think you're going to have to take that approach, especially, I think Inter Miami came in as an expansion team and wanted to be great right away. That never works. You maybe have a year of success signing all these other players who sort of are just glad to collect the paycheck. Yeah, I wouldn't change anything. When you beat the Revolution as soundly as they did, I am staying with that approach until something changes. I totally agree with what you and Sean were talking about.
Yeah, and let me tell you, the speed, even the mistakes they made in that game, even the goal they gave up, even the penalty in the box, that showed me even that was speed put him in that position to do that and create that penalty and everything. But throughout the game, the youth, the speed, the problem with the MLS now, it's not a problem. It's a great thing that's going on with the MLS is that you keep bringing some of these old guys and some of that thinking is still there. The problem is most of the league has moved on. Most of the league is actually investing in young players. So those of you that are still stuck in your days of, oh, no, we got to bring this big name. Well, dude, if he can't run, these young guys are going to run him right off the field. And that's what we kept watching with Higuain. They kept stealing the ball away from him like he's the kid that they're taking candy away from him every day, at school. They're taking his lunch money and all that. And that's because Higuain is too slow and not athletic enough to keep up with the young players.
And of course, he arrived here for a vacation. And once you get that attitude, you are dead.
Right. You're smoking cigarettes and you're hanging around and you're not in shape and you think you're just going to take over the league.
Right.
And Chicharito went through the same problem a couple of years ago when they brought him over and he struggled in LA in a big time way. And it's kind of a wake up call because you don't realize how faster this league is and how much younger it is now and physical. And that's the thing, that there's an adjustment. And now Henderson, with that injection of youth, I would not change a damn thing. Higuain would come off the bench for me now. If I need a score desperately or whatever, and I'd tell him, because he reminds me a lot of Roy Lassiter, except slower, he needs to be in the box.
No, you're right. You're down by 10 minutes ago at the 80-minute mark. He's just going to play in the forward third anyway. So you're not telling him to come back and defend. You're telling him, hey, when that ball goes over the top, do something with it. We need a finisher. Yeah, there could be a role there. And you know what? As long as he's cashing checks, I'd almost bet he'd be fine with that. Yep. But we digress.
I'm with you there 100%. All right, so let's by the way, that injection of youth, let me play off of that thing that you just said about the Miami Heat. How beneficial has it been for the veterans now? Because it's something maybe we don't look at. How much more would they have been worn down if Yurtseven and Martin and Vincent and
Hero.
And Hero? No, not Hero. The fourth young guy, Strus. If those 4 guys don't come through,
you know what? But I'm going to put Hero in. I'm going to put Hero in there also as a 21 and 22-year-old
first rounder. But he's a first rounder.
But I'm saying, but for youth. And here's the reason.
I got you.
When you talk about youth, because of the youth of Caleb Martin, Jimmy Butler doesn't have to bust his butt out there to defend every premier player. A matter of fact, if they wind up with the Hawks, you're going to see a ton of Caleb Martin on Trae Young. You know what? You'll probably see a ton of Caleb Martin on Darius Garland if they play the Sixers. Then you could look at it the other way. Because of Tyler Hero's offense, Kyle Lowry never had to be at 35, 36-year-old this season a scorer. He was able to play off of Tyler Hero. Jimmy Butler to an extent also. So they saved those old legs from having to do it because they had the youth also to help carry them through. The 82 are hard. Get me through the 82 and keep my mid-30 guys ready for the final 28 games, 16 wins, however you want to look at it. That's why you need that balance. If you're just old, everyone's exhausted at the end, and you're just limping to a series loss with Zoe and Hardaway and Charlotte, and you realize, you know what, guys? You guys were, but you might not be anymore, and the age makes a difference. There's such a nice blend with the Heat. There's high paid, there's low paid, there's old, there's young, there's offensive minded, there's defensive minded. You really have put together a nice roster.
And let me tell you something. It's been a luxurious argument with you and me, going back and forth talking about Duncan Robinson. And, for months I've been saying, put him on the bench and start, obviously Strus. And eventually that's what happened. Thank God Strus played the way he played, okay? Because we talked about how the young guys have helped the older guys with the Heat get through the season, right? Well, it also helped Duncan Robinson not face more heat, because if Strus and some of those young guys don't show up and they're just young guys,
right?
And then all of a sudden now Robinson is inconsistent, but you need him badly because you don't have those young guys performing. The criticism for Duncan Robinson would have gone way higher. But because of Strus and all of that, kind of saved Duncan Robinson a little heat this year.
And you know what? To go back to your comparison, and he could be more like Higuaín at the end of a game. Just come in and make some threes, Duncan. We're not counting you to start. We're not counting on you for 40 quality minutes. We're counting on you for moments. So go in there with Tyler. Go in with the second unit. Make a few threes. Let Jimmy rest. Let Kyle rest, and we'll pick it up. Yeah, you flip the roles. Before it was Duncan as starter, Strus as specialist. Now it's Strus as starter, Duncan as specialist. I don't care about the salaries, Big O, this time of year. I don't give a rat's ass if you're making $25 million or $2 million. It's go time. Give me my best rotation. Give me my best players in those moments. And you know what? If you hurt some feelings, screw it. You have all summer to take care of that also. This is go time. Give me my 9 guys who work best together, and that very well might not include Victor Oladipo. And when it comes for hard feelings and guys, who are taking it the wrong way, I'll sit down with you in July, August, September. We'll take care of that. We'll get ready for next season. Go time now. My best play, my most efficient are the ones I'm putting to work.
Hey, don't be surprised if, when the Heat take the court again, Duncan's jersey says Duncan Higuaín, and he's like smoking a cigarette outside the locker room. Maybe he's sharing cigarettes with Pat Riley now.
And maybe and instead of a couple of PKs, he shoots the technical free throws when needed. Whatever, like Spoelstra's going to tell us later today at practice, whatever it takes to get 16 more victories.
Amen to that. All right. What do we know about PJ Tucker? We know he's going to do whatever it takes to be ready. But one of the things I talked with Anthony Chang about yesterday, and again, we had the luxury argument of Duncan Robinson, whether it hurt, help, whatever, they could overcome it all year long. Well, now you look at this, whether it's the Cavs or the Hawks, do you need PJ Tucker in the first round? So if you're the Miami Heat, do you protect PJ Tucker from PJ Tucker and you say, PJ, we're going to slow walk this like we've been slow walking with every player nowadays. We don't hurry you back. We want you 100%. Plus, wink, wink, we don't really need you against the Cavs or the Hawks. So how do you balance that, Ira? Publicly, they're not going to tell us that, but you and I know they can get by without PJ Tucker in that series. So how do you handle that injury with PJ Tucker? Do you slow walk it?
I'm still putting him out there in the starting lineup as a tenderizer, just to mess up the young kids, to be physical. So whether it's John Collins for the Hawks or Evan Mobley for the Cavs, I want them to get some sort of old guy strength to let them know there's still a sheriff in town who was a champion last season with the Bucks. Caleb Martin's probably going to come in and get a bunch of time. Who knows? You might be able to spot Markieff Morris in there. And like you said, and Anthony said, save PJ Tucker. But you know what? I'll take PJ Tucker's veteran savvy every time against these young whippersnappers, there's an old person word, who thinks that they know that they can do it best. So whether it's John Collins or Evan Mobley, you're going to have relatively bigger front lines. I want some PJ Tucker. Doesn't have to be 40, doesn't have to be 30 minutes, but I think he'll be enough there just to get those guys a little bit off their games to help shake things up. He's a benefit. Remember, a year ago, I'm writing this in my Sunday column, the Heat had 7 different players on their playoff roster than now. They were trying to play the playoffs with toothpick Trevor Ariza as their starting power forward.
Right.
They were destroyed by about 15 rebounds a game by the Bucks. I'm more comfortable right now having Dwayne Dedmon in there, having PJ Tucker in there, having a little more bulk and size. So I don't think they go away from that. Yes, they will play matchup based, but yes, they cannot allow to happen what happened last year against the Bucks when really, Big O, they got sand kicked in their face for 4 straight games.
Does it matter who they play? Hawks, Cavs? I mean, tonight decides who faces the Miami Heat.
It does, because stylistically it's different. Here's the deal. If you play the Cavaliers, you were double teaming Darius Garland and you were saying, anyone else beat us.
Right.
Go ahead, whether it's Isaac Okoro, whether it's Karis LeVert, who struggled in that game against Brooklyn on Tuesday. There's not another guy who's a bucket getter. The difference is then you swarm Trae Young. But you know what? If Bogdan Bogdanovic, if Danilo Gallinari, maybe even Lou Williams come back and they're hitting shots, they do have other shot creators and scorers, so it's a little different. I know people are talking about the height of the Cavs. If Jared Allen comes back tonight, if Evan Mobley comes back tonight, if Lauri Markkanen comes back tonight. But I'll take the shorter Heat with their grit and their guile, and I think they'll be fine there on what Bam Adebayo can do. This has to be a breakout moment for Bam Adebayo. Clint Capella has eaten the Heat's lunch off the boards this season and last season. When you look at what Jared Allen has done and the size of the Cavs, Bam has to play big and he has to play strong. So I think if you're almost asking me, Ira, we don't know who the Heat are facing in the first round. It could be Atlanta. It could be Cleveland. I'm telling you either way, Big O, I think Bam Adebayo has to be sort of this swing player. He has to come out and he has to show no matter who we play, the matchup in the middle belongs to me.
What are you hearing about Ben Simmons? Because now they're talking about bringing him back and possibly playing him a couple of minutes. How do you feel about
This
that?
is nonstop liar's poker going on between the Celtics and the Nets. So the Nets are saying that, and then the Celtics are saying, we're going to up the ante. Robert Williams might be back by the middle of this series. So you have two teams trying to put thoughts in the other team's mind that they have to adjust their game plans, that there might be plan X and plan Y and something else. This is how playoffs play out. Both teams are going to start this series with their available core. The team that blinks might have to rush someone back sooner. But man, Robert Williams played 4 weeks ago. He's in a rhythm of the season. Ben Simmons has not played since last June. I think it's awfully hard to rush a player back like that, whether it's him, whether it's the Clippers, maybe eventually getting Kawhi Leonard back right now. I think when you miss that amount of time, you simply never get in sync as quickly as you can. So I think it's more of a threat from the Nets. But obviously, Robert Williams at some point will come back and will make the Celtics a lot stronger. And Robert Williams is something they would need in the second round against Milwaukee.
Where are you going, Raptors or Sixers?
You know, I'm going Raptors because the Sixers, to me, I don't want to say soft. I think Joel Embiid is arguably an MVP candidate this year. But I know what James Harden is like in the playoffs. And I know what Doc Rivers can be, the master of panic. Oh, we're up 20. What do you mean we're not up 20 anymore? Oh, we're up 3-1 in this series. What do you mean we lost this series? Look, that guy had a great run with the Celtics. But ever since then, it's been a little shaky in the playoffs. I love Nick Nurse. I love Fred VanVleet. Pascal Siakam has played like an all-NBA player this season. But Nick Nurse has overplayed his players. He's played like 2 reserves all year. I think Toronto, this is their last breath series. It's like you're playing the video games and your energy button is way down. I think they have just enough energy to squeeze out one series. And I think after that, the Raptors will be utterly exhausted from the Thibodeau-like big minutes their players have played. But yeah, I could see the Raptors taking that series from Joel Embiid and James Harden and Doc Rivers. Yeah, I think that is possible.
Nets, Celtics?
I'm live in fear of the Nets. But I see maybe what the Heat didn't have, Boston does. They have 2 big-time scorers also in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. So I think they have enough to comfortably offset what Kyrie and KD can do. Plus, they have Marcus Smart, and they have a little more in reserve. Trade they made with the Spurs, I think, helped them also. I still think it can go 7, though. I think there are going to be other teams sitting back and going, Ooh, game 7. Let me get some popcorn.
How, compare, let's bring it local here a second.
Sure.
When it comes to the Celtics with Brown and Tatum, how much do they need a deep run, kind of like Barkov and Hubie and Ekblad, while they've had the great year that they've had, and they're one of them and the Avs are the best teams in the league. They still have to have that long, deep run into the playoffs to kind of break that ice finally for the Panthers and for themselves, for their, obviously for their history of being
Sure.
here, their legacy, in other words. So legacy wise, how important is it for Tatum and Brown to finally start making an impact in the
Yeah,
play?
I think the Celtics, though, addressed it with the coaching change, whether Brad Stevens stepped aside on his own or was sort of nudged out the door.
I mean, he's
So I
not going to the Lakers. He's not going to the Lakers. Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't think so. I think you can get very comfortable in the management suite after dealing with the grueling coaching deal. But I think by moving to Ime Udoka, they've sort of started that transition of not being good enough. They made their tangible move. So I think that train has already gone there. I mean, the Panthers is crazy. You have an interim coach. Coach Q would have been here if not for something he did a decade ago in Chicago. So that's a little bit different. But I think the Boston story, because they made the coaching change, they already feel a bit of refresh. They can exhale a little. Look, they haven't gone
but Ira, if they get eliminated in this first round,
in the first round. Yes.
yeah, then Tatum and Brown have that label again of, yeah, you guys are great, you guys are talented, but you do nothing in the postseason.
I still think they will do like the Panthers did. They will move everyone else. They switched the coach already. They'll switch Marcus Smart. They'll do some of the ancillary stuff. Maybe say that that Al Horford didn't work out. That's the difference, is they'll move around them. That's what the Panthers really have done. Like you said, with Huberdeau, Barkov, and Ekblad, they've moved all the pieces. They brought in Bob. It didn't work the first couple of years. They did switch the coach first to Coach Q and now to Andrew Burnett. So they've done that also. I think the teams are similar that way. They've rearranged all the ancillary furniture. Now we have to see if the other parts work. They sure as hell have worked during the season for the Panthers, and they sure as heck have worked to get Boston to the number 2 seed in the East.
Bulls have any shot against the Bucks?
I'd say a puncher's chance. Maybe they'll get a game because you know what? Maybe there'll be one game where DeMar DeRozan goes off or Zach LaVine goes off. So I think they'll get a game. Milwaukee finagled their way into that number 3 seed. They were playing literally ushers and vendors at the end of the season to fall to number 3. But Big O, then it becomes be careful what you wish for. Because if they play the Celtics in the second round as the road team, Mike, you and I a month from now saying, so Boston's home at game 7, Ira. How smart are the Bucks right now? They gave up home court a chance in the Eastern Conference semis and the Eastern Conference finals to the Celtics and to the Heat willingly. Obviously, they think they're better than a game 7. I think it's going to be really interesting to see if any Bucks series after this one do go the full 7 games.
Jazz Mavs, obviously Luka's
it's all on Luka, but I think the Jazz are a team that's almost ready for an implosion. They just simply can't get over the hump. They let up, I think it was like 3 20-point leads in the last month of the season. Look, individually, Quinn Snyder, really good coach. Rudy Gobert, really good anchor. Donovan Mitchell, really good heart of the team. And you have a sort of an older player at point guard there also in Conley. But I think at a certain point, you have to blow things up also. The problem for the Jazz is this. They're not getting free agents. So if they're going to make trades, they have to be astute trades, and they have to bring in the right coach. I think that could be an all-or-nothing series for Utah. If they don't get out of it, I think you could see dramatic changes for the Jazz.
Why don't the Lakers go after Quinn Snyder?
And they might. And he's been linked to there, possibly someone else. You know what? Oh, you're phrasing it as
this whole thing of Brad Stevens, and I'm thinking, dude, I'm thinking while you're talking about this, I'm going, if I'm Quinn Snyder, I need to get the hell out of here already. And I think he's kind of worn his welcome there already.
But do you want to step into the Lakers? The Lakers have no cap space, have a bunch
He'll
of
never win in
veterans.
Utah. He'll never win in Utah. It's so
I know, but
hard
I think whoever interviews for the Lakers has to say this before they do anything to Rob Pelinka. What's your plan? And I think in a way, coaching candidates will be interviewing the Lakers more than the Lakers will be interviewing coaching candidates, at least the elite level of coach.
How much crap do I have to put up from LeBron, too?
Number one, but also, am I still left with injury-prone Anthony Davis? Is Westbrook really coming back? Or is he going to be on the John Wall, just get out of the way, we'll pay you kind of deal? Can you line up trades? Are you going to trade Taylor Horton, whatever it is, to
the three-name dude, yes.
That's it. To somewhere else with Kendrick Nunn. So I think the leading candidates interview the Lakers versus the other way around.
That's crazy. And Horton is like one of the few young guys that you might want to like try to develop or something like
I know
that.
they're trying to sell us an Austin Reeves, and that's a bad team that was way below 500 with no sense of direction. You could rip the Knicks also for their season, but you know what? At least you have Quickly, at least you have RJ Barrett, at least you have Mitchell Robinson. At least you could say, okay, I can grow with this. There's nothing to grow with the Lakers.
No, you're right about that. And Tibbs, do you keep Tibbs, by the way?
You know what? Again, he got him to the playoffs last year. It's not a great roster. It's one that has to be developed, but I think he's as good as any alternative you're going to have.
It just seems like he's a workout coach and a hustle coach, but it doesn't seem to me like he's out scheming anybody. You know what I'm saying?
No, he's getting you to outwork the other team with the right pieces, and they might have to move around some of the furniture on deck there.
Yeah. All right. Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. More importantly, please subscribe to the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Support Ira and all the great writers there, and catch him 3 times a week doing his thing here on our program. Ira, have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy the playoff basketball, sir.
And on Monday, this Acura Pembroke Pines report, playoffs. We're talking playoffs. Finally, we'll have a game to talk about. Talk to you then, Big O. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. There you go. Ira Winderman and your Miami Heat report.